Welcome to another Pieces of the Past Resumed story from our great county, brought to you by the Campbell County Historical and Genealogical Society. Today we are looking at the life of Charles William Wirsch, veteran, businessman, and state representative. Research for this story was done by Ken Reis, a great-nephew of Charles. Thank you, Ken. Charles William Wirsch was born 26th of December 1892 in a double log cabin on Burns Road in Grand Slick, Kentucky, the second oldest son of John Wirsch and Catherine Martz. His parents spoke German and English, but had no formal education beyond a one-room school. Charles worked on the family farm until the start of World War I. He did not wait to be drafted, but volunteered right away. But before 1917, Charles ran a grocery store on 10th Street in Newport. He was an industrious working man and eventually became a contractor for the heating industry. Charles went into the service as a private and was discharged as a corporal. He enlisted the 1st of June 1917 and was assigned to the 37th Infantry Division, Company G, a National Guard unit. He trained in Newport News and shipped out the 15th of June 1918, arriving in France in July. Charles saw action in Chateau Thierry and ended up getting hit with mustard gas, but survived. He also saw action in the Vosges Mountains. He received a Purple Heart and letter of commendation from President Wilson after the war. He also received a Silver Victory Button for bravery. After returning home from the war in 1919, he married his first wife, Lily Davis, on the 20th of June 1920 in Newport. They were married a few years and divorced. She moved to Indiana, and there were no children. Charles married his second wife, Velma Haas, in Cold Spring, daughter of Henry Haas from Dayton, Ohio. There were no children from this marriage either. And the Kentucky Post, on September the 21st of 1933, published an article about Charles receiving the Purple Heart by the War Department. Charles first ran for the Kentucky House of Representatives and was elected in 1948 as a member of the 62nd District, which covered Bellevue, Dayton, Fort Thomas, South Gate, and rural Campbell County. Warren Schonert, editor of the Falmouth Outlook newspaper in Pendleton County, was interviewed by Ken Reis and had this to say about his Uncle Charlie. Charlie was as stubborn as an old bulldog. Once he made up his mind, there was no chance of changing his opinion. He became known for this and eventually had a little metal bulldog statue on his desk in Frankfurt, end quote. The metal bulldog is now in the possession of Ken Reis. Charlie was very involved in the community as a member of the Fort Thomas Men's Club, Campbell County War Dads, Bob White Club, commander of the Robert D. Johnson Post of the American Legion, and post commander of the John R. Little Post of the VFW in Southgate. Charlie went to every picnic, church festival, or any other event in Campbell County that would allow him to meet and greet potential voters. In August of 1937, he ran for county commissioner in the 2nd District, but lost to William M. Narr. He ran again in 1941, losing this time to Joseph Galvagni. He never gave up trying for political office. In 1947, he ran for state representative, winning in the November 1947 election. He was an advocate for rural electric for farmers, improved schools, teacher salaries, and better roads. He served until he retired in 1960. On the night of March 29, 1957, Charles and Clifford Hyland Sr., a businessman and friend, were returning from a meeting of the Twin City Council in Newport when it was hit by a truck in front of his house in Fort Thomas. The truck pushed the car into an electric pole and caught fire. Heinlein died at the scene, but the truck driver pulled Charles out of the burning car, and he was taken to the hospital where he survived. He had bad burns and internal injuries, had 2/3 of his stomach removed. He was a rare blood type, so the Kentucky State Troopers brought blood in from Lexington to help him survive. He retired from his business after this accident. Velma, Charles's wife, had diabetes and many complications associated with the disease. She died the 21st of November, 1959, and was buried in the Peach Grove Cemetery in Pendleton County. Charles married his third wife, Mamie Stevenson, in 1960 and retired from public office. Charles labeled himself as a moderate liberal, but by today's standards, he was a true conservative. He worked hard to get President Nixon elected and was known to say, quote, "I always vote for the best man, but it better be a Republican," end quote. In his retirement years, he still campaigned for his friends who were running. He also kept a garden at his house, was an avid fisherman, and took many vacation trips to Florida. Charles William Wirsch died the 9th of February 1975 at the St. Luke Hospital in Fort Thomas. He was 82 years old. He always had the best interests of the citizens of Campbell County and left many wonderful memories. Charles was buried in the Peach Grove Cemetery in Pendleton County with full military honors. Thank you, Charles, for your service to our country and our nation. Be sure to visit the Campbell County Historical Society and see several of the artifacts that were donated in his behalf concerning his military work in World War I. If you have any stories that you would like to see here, please call the Historical Society at 859-635-6407.